Hey everyone, in Ode to Halloween and all things beautifully October, as I would say, I have something really special to show you. So the people of Raw.Exchange, especially Stefan Kohler, that I would like to thank for this amazing project, challenged me to create something that was composite based and totally out of my element. Now, if you're not familiar, Raw.Exchange is a site that sells a lot of stock images and a lot of stock material for people to build fantasy composites or even real composites if I, want to expand my universe. For example, they sell stuff from cities, rooms, they sell smoke, cracked brushes, cracked textures, I should say, blood overlay textures, everything. Here we go. We have miniature moons, we have subjects, we have dust, we have even brushes, different cities. It just goes on and on. And they challenge me to come with something based on their material. Now, pardon my voice, I should say, because I am going through a cold, but I was so excited to show you my walkthrough in how I created this piece, which I title The Burning Dead, just because I feel like, let me turn those on for a second, just because I feel like people were asking me how I came up with this. And I want to show everyone my final piece. So let's go ahead and get started. Here we go. So what I basically started with is this room. Now this room and everything I'm going to show you is going to be linked in the description from this video, no matter where you see it. And also, I didn't know where I was going to go with the direction. I just knew that I had a bunch of pieces that I liked visually and wanted to piece them together. So I said, you know what, let's go for it. So again, this is just a walkthrough. This is not a tutorial. So I'm not going to be teaching you anything. If you can keep up, great. If you want to learn about compositing, I've learned from two people. One is Renee Robin. I would check out her Creative Live class. It is phenomenal. And second person is Draco Rubio or Roderick. And he's a phenomenal artist, which I would recommend going to his classes. We had the pleasure of working together in a few cities, and I learned so much from both of these wonderful people. So let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing is I have a subject folder here. So here's what it looks like. So this is a zombie base, and I have my background. So if I turn off or turn on my mask, you'll see that I gave him a general extraction. It's not perfect, but it's pretty good. Next, I desaturated him by attaching a hue saturation clipping layer. Next, I added a soft light layer, started painting white. Did that again, and that was my subject folder. Next, let me turn to the dust. This dust was again a dust stock, and for that I simply added dust stock, and I just did a Gaussian blur, as you can see here. Made it a smart object so I can turn that on and off, change that radius, and I just added a hue saturation and a curve to match luminosity and color. Now again, I'm not a professional in terms of coming with fantasy composites, but I was curious to see what I would do with this creativity because there's so much good material. Like, let me show you really quick some of the material and the quality of stock that I had to work with. So this is one folder in a series of folders that I asked for this particular instance. As you can see, I had some other backdrops that I could have worked with, and these are amazing, from cities to decrepit environments to textures, and I was really impressed, to say the least. I had no issues at all with the quality of stock that they provided me, which was great. You can see different flares. If I want to be all J.J. Abrams, I could go all out, which shockingly I didn't indulge in as much. Maybe because I didn't make Star Trek, but this could be the next Star Trek. Who knows? Okay. So anyways, back to our workflow here. So after adding in some dust, I added this fire stock. And these are all high resolution stock photos taken in studio or taken on location with high resolution cameras, either in TIFF or in JPEG form. So I had a lot of leverage to work with. So this, at the time that I was working through this, I wasn't sure the direction that I wanted to go in, except that I knew that I wanted to start transitioning away from the cool tones into the fiery tones, because I knew that I wanted to be more aggressive. He looked really boring, to be honest with you, just with him coming at me, because this is kind of like a nightmare situation for me, being backed up in a room with a zombie coming at me. How could I make it worse than a zombie? Because I am already used to zombies from watching so many films. So I was like, you know what, let's make him into a combustible zombie where he's about to explode into a fiery inferno unless I somehow escape his limiting factor of death. So I said, let's put him on fire and like he's gonna explode internally. So I was like, perfect. Let's start by adding some fiery depth to the scene. So I put some fire stock flames. You can see from the thumbnail. I masked it in generally, set to overlay, and that gets me this like really nice fiery atmosphere. Next, this fire eyeballs. Fire eyeballs. Fireballs. That was basically another fire stock, shrunk down, transformed. I added a hue saturation clipping mask, and then a levels. If my voice wasn't so bad right now, I'd actually give you a little bit of a tutorial, but again, check those courses out. I'd highly recommend learning from professionals in this degree. So yeah, first step was, you know what, let's make fire popping out of his eyes, because that's pretty terrifying and pretty metal. And then I was like, alright, let's start adding fire to his hands. So again, another fire stock. I did a little bit of, I should say, masking. Did I do a masking? A little bit of masking. I just merged that into the layer itself so you can't really see it. And I added a hue saturation so it matches the environment a little bit more. I added a smart filter. This is Gaussian blur. I just blurred so it doesn't look as, it matches the depth of field a little bit. So fire we have here. This is where it gets interesting. I included another fire stock. Now this fire stock here, set to lighten, add another mask, give it a general ambiance, a romantic ambiance, me and the zombie, set to hue saturation, again another clipping mask. I adjusted it so it's from magenta to orange, just a little bit. Next I have fire atmosphere, again more engulfing the scenario, making it worse for me. Next, I have exposure changes. Alright, so here's where it gets a little bit more intricate. This is the curve. I brighten him up, put him more in the center light, give him a little bit of a Jesus glow. It says glowing over there. This was a fun one. So I set this layer to overlay. Just a blank layer set to overlay, and I started painting in different colors. So, you know, different like oranges, magentas, I don't know, use the color wheel, come up with something interesting, and then just start painting over everything. I started painting oranges over the background here, magentas in the shadows. Next was I added some brightness in the fire, because I figured, you know what, if there's fire coming from his eyeballs, there'd be some brightness around there, like a little campfire. Need some marshmallows and we got a party. Pretty good, right? Thing zombie. Next, I darkened him just a little bit in the foreground. Emphasis on the fire. And then I added some more brightness overall. Did some vignetting. Added some depth. This is the black and white layer set to soft light and just masked in. So there you go. Next I added in some flare. This is me being all J.J. Abrams. This one was a flare. You can see some of it. I'm not going to change the opacity, but again, flare stock. And again, another one. They're both set to lighten. Again, that's why you want to shoot on black, because you can set to light and extract it really easily. Pro tip. Here's my favorite, the skin rot folder. So on this folder here, this is just a texture stock set to overlay. And you can see I added a bunch of rotting texture to his face because he needed to be more realistic. That makeup was great, but this is even better. Texture rotting, perfect. There we go. This actually looks like he's burning like a volcano from the inside. And then I added a curve. You can see the red curve going up, blue curve going down to add a bit more yellows, and magentas in the green, and then adding another curve going up. Those two will simply just add some burning warmth to his skin. That Revlon, beautiful hair, and that there we go. Next, I started dodging his face a little bit more. You can see here from the thumbnail, this was a Gobo texture pack that I put over it for a mist. Next, I added some fog at the bottom because I figured, you know what, a burning building is going to have some smoke rising somewhere. I attached a hue saturation. Next, I added some depth levels. Added some sharpening because why not? I went to the lens blur and just blurred out the foreground because you know what, it really gives a feel of depth, and especially because when you're in a situation like this, everything becomes hyper focused. You tend to dismiss the things that are in your peripheral vision and focus on what's in front of you. So I wanted to change the distraction element of anything on the sides by adding this lens blur. So it's filter, lens blur, did that. Again, added a black and white depth. And finally, I did some color work and some final tweaks. Here was a general color lookup. This impacted the shadows. Another one really gently. This was a green-red. Next was vibrance. Next was a curve. I added some warmth, tremendous amount of warmth into these highlights down here. Because they were blue, they shouldn't be blue, they should be orange. Another quick soft light to fill in that little gap here. Just painted black. And here I used one of the magic brushes. So under window and brush preset, I loaded some of these magic brushes over here. which I got from the stock as well. And these magic brushes are really fascinating because they come with specific properties that allow me to actually play around. So you can see the brush itself is a blood splatter shape. So if I use any specific color, it adds different blood splatter patterns and changing properties, and they have so many brushes. It's amazing. I would recommend highly playing with them because they are so much fun to come with effects. And then finally, let me close that out for a second. Finally added some soft, no, here we go. There it is. That's how I did the blood. I set that to overlay. And then finally, I have that folder here. So that's how I got from here, which was terrifying enough, all the way here to being a fire zombie. So I hope you got something out of that and hope you enjoy.